the one that speaks of the sun setting in the murky spring. And therefore, this wording is rejected as an addition.
Okay, let's go to the hadith. Farid responds, thinks is authentic. Sahih al-Bukhari 7424.
I entered the mosque while Allah's messenger was sitting there. When the sun had set, the Prophet said, O Abu Dar, do you know where this goes? I said, Allah and his apostle know best. He said, it goes and asks permission to prostrate, and it is allowed, and one day, as if being ordered to return whence it came, then it will rise from the west. Then the Prophet recited, and the sun runs on its fixed course.
Mohammed is pointing to the physical sun and he says, do you know where this goes? The most common defense for the apparent scientific errors in Islamic literature is the metaphysical reality defense. Oh, Mohammed was referring to some metaphysical reality where what he says is true. There are trillion stars in the universe, like the sun. How probable it is God makes metaphysical realities complying with the false perceptions of humans, in this case, the rotation of the earth, that gives the illusion that the sun is moving. What is the chance a little girl watching the sky and having the false perception clouds are marshmallows, God making an alternative reality where that is true? That's a direct analogy. What is the chance God makes the false perception of humans alternative realities? What is this chance? Why? Every false perception of every human, God makes an alternative reality where that is true. Why?
And let's be honest, the first argument is a foolish argument. Because science is predicated on methodological naturalism. So what they're doing is a category mistake fallacy. They're using something which is predicated on methodological naturalism to attempt to detect that which is clearly in the realms of the metaphysical.
How we detect a bullshit argument? Mohammed Hijab is a bullshitter. Okay. How we detect a bullshit argument? When it applies to every absurdity imaginable. Okay. Let's imagine Mohammed said in the Quran, trees are toothpicks for pink dragons with butterfly wings that little girls ride on them to go to the Neverland. Mohammed Hijab could have made the same defense.
Predicated on methodological naturalism to attempt to detect that which is clearly in the realms of the metaphysical.
Okay, now let's try to detect the bullshit of your prophet.
And we have from of old adorned the lowest heaven with lamps, and we have made such lamps as missiles to drive away the evil ones, and have prepared for them the penalty of the blazing fire.
Guys, look, another coincidence. God made the false perception of Arabs in the 7th century watching the sky. He made an alternative reality exactly the same. What a coincidence, eh? He keeps doing that, in other words. In this alternative reality, God is in a literal throne and he speaks with a literal voice. And guess what? Literal devils are hearing the literal voice of God, and he throws stars, shooting stars, which in fact is comets, and the devils just sit there waiting for the comet to hit him, and to avoid hearing the secrets of God in his palace. So, and all that is exactly as Arabs of the 7th century look the sky. Popo, what a coincidence, eh? So, the false perception of Arabs of the 7th century looking the sky, that they saw something looking like a missile. What this missile is repelling? Let me guess. Aeroplanes. No, there weren't any aeroplanes. Ah, devils. And it just happens God makes an alternative reality where that is true. I mean, if you can believe this, then what can I say? So in order for Mohammed not to be wrong, let's imagine the most outrageous, insane scenarios ever imagined that makes Lord of the Rings, the movie, look like a documentary in comparison. So, in order for Mohammed not to be wrong, let's imagine that the most absurd reality imaginable. And, of course, let's not forget,
Predicated on methodological naturalism to attempt to detect that which is clearly in the realms of the metaphysical.
when Mohammed says, it as if being ordered to return whence it came, then it will rise from the west, he is talking about the actual movement of the sun, not metaphysical realities. Also, when he says it will rise from the west, he is obviously referring to the human perspective, the way we see the sun every day. And obviously not the movement of the sun around the Milky Way galaxy. But in this perspective, the sun doesn't go anywhere. The rise and the set of the sun is because of the rotation of the earth. If the sun was to rise from the west, the earth needs to rotate on the opposite direction. The sun doesn't go anywhere. Yet Mohammed implies in this hadith that the sun actually moves, as if being ordered to return whence it came. So it came from somewhere. Then it will rise from the west. He also reads the Quran this way. And the sun runs on its fixed course for a term decreed. Obviously, Mohammed thinks that the sun moves every day from a position A in the east to a position B in the west. We know that he's describing a natural phenomenon, and we know he's referring to the movement of the sun we see every day. Therefore, Mohammed cannot be a prophet.
Okay.
And by the way, the Quran says in chapter 25 that there are many suns, because it says, تَبَارَكَ الَّذِي جَعَلَ فِي السَّمَاءِ بُرُوجًا.
No, it does not.
Pardon?
What does it say that?
Yeah, it says,
5, I believe.
yeah, 67.5. وَلَقَدْ زَيَّنَّا السَّمَاءِ الدُّنْيَا بِمَصَابِيحَ. We have certainly adorned the heavenly realm with stars. وَجَعَلْنَاهَا رُجُومًا لِلشَّيَاطِينَ. And we have made it a pelting thing for the devils.
Look, Mohammed Hijab, just because you chose that Islam being true is more important than reason, and you are willing to rape your mind, DP, to hold on to this delusion like a drowning man holds his last hope for salvation, just because you are like that, that doesn't mean the rest of us will throw our minds in the garbage so Islam can be necessarily true. Can you understand this, my friend? Let me explain that in another way. Just because your mother, when you were young, told you that Islam is true, that doesn't mean now you have the right to subjugate the world under a theocratic dictatorship. Can you understand this difference, my friend? Get out of politics, my friend. We can barely tolerate your stupidity. You thinking that you will subjugate the world based on this stupidity, you cross the line, my friend. Islam is not meant for politics. Islam is meant for you to read fairy tales and masturbate, Mohammed Hijab. Okay. Nobody enslaved the world with My Little Pony fairy tales. Can you understand this difference, my friend? Okay. You cannot even justify a traffic ticket with Islam, yet alone subjugate the world and dictate all aspects of human life. Who are you, my friend? You are a circus. That's who you are. You are a circus that believes My Little Pony fairy tales. That's who you are. You are for a mental institute? Yes. For ruling the world? Not so much. Thank you very much, guys.